Hello and welcome to the second video of the Principal Engineering class. We are going to be building this wonderful mountain board using SolidWorks software for our engineering design project. You have already been able to go through the first lesson using the interface, and you should have a nice awareness of the layout of SolidWorks and the functionality behind a lot of the menu bars and tools that they have offered. And now what we're going to do is we're going to be starting on our lesson 2, basic functionality, and we're going to be creating this wonderful part, which is a binding anchor used on our mountain board. All right, so you should have completed the previous lesson using the interface and answered all the questions in the packet. And we're going to be learning how to create parts and do some drawings and fillets, things that you might already be aware of from some of our class discussions. Here's the outline. You have this packet PDF, so you can go through and all the different things that you should be able to understand as we're doing that. All right, so we're talking about the design process. When you're starting a design as an engineer, you need to ask a lot of questions. It's important to state the objectives and the scope of the project. And these are things that you're going to need to do throughout this year in Principal Engineering class for different projects we have. So, you know, for example, if we were designing a toaster, you might ask how many slices you want. Is it a 2-slice toaster, 4-slice, 6 slices? What your audience is? What is the amount of power it can consume? What do you want it to weigh? How expensive is it going to be to make it? What type of manufacturing methods will be used? And also, while you're doing it, what type of marketing are you going to need to create? Images, animations, who are you going to be marketing to? So the goals need to be clearly stated before you start a project. And basically in this class, most of the goals you'll need is what are your objectives, what are you trying to accomplish, and how much material is necessary to complete this project. Right, so here's the course project overview for the mountain board. Right, through this lesson you'll be designing and analyzing mountain skateboard. Right, so drawings will be created. You'll have to create the parts yourself using PhotoWorks and Motion Manager. You'll be able to create photorealistic images and animations for your marketing campaign. We have the mountain board, some of the things that you'll have, the bindings, the deck, the truck and axle, and the wheels. Right, so you'll be creating these parts using SolidWorks, and you'll be trying to create realistic marketing images such as these, so that by the end of this project you should be able to create something like this using PhotoWorks, which is part of SolidWorks. So SolidWorks is an automation software, and it creates 3D models. Right, you'll be creating parts first, and then assemblies, and then drawings. Part is a single 3D object made up of a feature. So you guys are already familiar with this, especially if you already took SolidWorks. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating this binding anchor, and we have our dimensions for our binding anchor right here. And it's gonna look something like this, and our finished product is gonna look like that up there. So let's start. Let's open up SolidWorks. So we go into our programs, and we look for SolidWorks 2010. We want SolidWorks 2010 edition. And we're going to be creating a new part. So we'll come up here, File, and we'll have new. And we want part. We could do advanced, but we really don't need advanced for this, right? So we don't need to go into the tutorial to look for advanced part. We just want a simple pan. So we can go into novice. We just click on the part. If you have advanced, you're going to click on part here, and then you hit OK. Alright, so there we opened up. Once again, on our sheet, we have all of our toolbars, our menu bar, all of this stuff, reference, triads, status bars in the corner. So when we look at SolidWorks, we see all of these entities that they're talking about in the PDF. We open the sketch, and we're going to select the top plane, right? So feature tree, select, click once the top plane, and then we're going to do the sketch. We're going to apply a scene, and then we're going to create a circle. So I'll go through this real quick. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to click on the top plane. We're going to sketch. They asked us to change the background to plain white, which is right here. So this gives a nice plain white color. And then we're going to select our circle. And you can see we can use this as a reference to our dimensions. You see that little orange dot? That'll be perfectly centered if we click there and start drawing out our circle through that right there. Alright, so we're given our radius to be 32. We're gonna change it to 82. All right, so right here in the discussion dimension, type in 82 by using our Smart Dimension tool. So Smart Dimension, you can click on it, and we want this to be 82. millimeters. So we'll put an mm. You'll see that I have this, whether you have this in inches or if you have it in centimeters or meters. So I have, it's been translated into 8.2 centimeters. So I put in 82 millimeters when I typed it, and then it automatically converted it to 8.2 centimeters for me. So in our packet here, we can see that our dimensions are given to us in millimeters, even though it doesn't say it here. So we're going to want to create this in millimeters also. Now that we've created this circle to the correct diameters using our Smart Dimension, we can hit the check mark and save it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the extrude boss base, which is under our features. Click on that, and we want to have 3.5 millimeters of thickness. So you can see we've brought this out into 3 dimensions, and this is at 1 centimeter, but we'll want 3.5 mm's. And once again, you'll see that this has changed it to 0.35 centimeters. So even if yours is set in inches, you can put in the millimeters in it, and automatically will convert it to the measurement that you wanted. Okay, and then we can click the check mark. So just to keep us up the pace, we've just put in our extrude boss base. We've used the unconditioned blind and had a depth of 3.5 millimeters. We clicked OK. Alright, the OK button on the property is just one way to complete the command. Alright, we have our feature design tree. You can see that it shows us what we have. Alright, for our sketches, our origin, all these things we can later do quick steps to change, modify. Now it's telling us we should save the file at this point. So something we should do before that is change our view display style. Alright, so we have our view display, and then we're going to save it. So what we're going to do is we will come over here, and we have view orientation and display style. Alright, we can also go under our view bar, and we can look for different things under there, but we got a quick display, and we want to use this hidden lines visible, tells us. So we click that and we'll see something like this. We file, and let's save as. Save this as our binding anchor. So it's a part binding anchor solid part. I already have something saved, so I'm going to save this as binding anchor 2. Alright, so now this has been called, this is the binding anchor 2. So if I was going to open up, I could open up this one, or I could open up the last one that I have at this point. We look at save the part, type binding anchor for the file name. Alright, we have a folder under our lesson 1 that we can save this in. It tells us we can change the views. How to do that. We can look at different views from the view toolbar top. So you can click on these, and what that'll do is that'll give us different orientations. Alright, so we can move this around. We have the isometric, trimetric, dimetric. You could click on any of these to look at those views. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change the view to the bottom view, and then we're going to add another feature. So click through here. This one's the bottom view. Alright, so now we have the bottom, and we're going to be creating a concentric circle. That means a circle within a circle. And you can kind of see from the instructions it's showing us how to add relations with our edges. So if we drew it off center, we could click on the edges, select, and add relations for concentric. But we don't have to go through all that trouble. We'll do something later where we'll be creating concentric circles or adding relationships between these. But you can see that we have, let's see, where's our reference point? If we go to sketch and we click on sketch, oh, we want the top plane like we had before. So I clicked on the top plane, and then I hit sketch, and you'll see we have the center. So this concentric, this circle center point is right here, and if we want to have a circle that is concentric, we could just click on our circle tool, and we could just wait until that little orange dot appears, and then we could draw our circle. So this is a concentric circle already. But what we want here is we want to make sure that our dimensions are 75 millimeters. So we go under Smart Dimensions and we click this. And we want 75 millimeters. And then check it. So now we have a circle inside a circle. And then we could click the check mark. And it says it says fully defined. So there's our fully defined box. We added this. We typed in 75 millimeters for the value. And we looked at the status bar to see that it is fully defined. Alright, so wants us to change it to the isometric view. So we'll do that. View, isometric. And then now we're on task 7, extrude the second feature. So change the viewpoint to dimetric by clicking on dimetric for the viewpoint. Click extrude on the features bar, select blind, and then we want 3 millimeter depth. Dimetric is here. We go under features, and extrude. We have blind selected, and we want 3 millimeters in there, and then click the check mark. Alright, so type 3 millimeters. Check the preview shown. It shows the mirror added to the bottom. So what we're going to do is we want to see this as a view. And it's saying that material was added to the bottom. Now, if you look at this, you'll see that we can change our view and then go to, say, a front view. You can see that this wasn't changed by our extruded boss base. So there's a reason for that, even though we followed the directions that were in there in the sheet. So I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna undo that. All right. So now we go all the way back to here. We have our dimensions in there. I go to features and I go to extrude boss base. And what happened was we had our 75 millimeter diameter circle at the bottom. Instead of using the top, we had it on the bottom. And our boss was headed into it. So even though we did, it didn't look like it. So what we want to do is we want to turn that around. So you just click and drag. So now this is pulling it out, and you can kind of see over here I'm changing it as I drag this, what direction we're going to go. So we want this to be 3 millimeters. 3 millimeters. But we wanted it to go down at the base, right? So now if I look at this from our any of our side views, right, you can see that check that off. you'll see that we have this extruded down at 3 millimeters downward. So you have something that looks like this. Alright, so let's go back to our diametric view, and we are now on task 8. So we have something that looks like this, where we're going to cut the top part. Okay, so now we're on task 8, where we're going to cut a recess in the top part of it. So we're going to do an extruding, we're going to extrude cut. So the first thing we need to do is draw a circle, and we're going to orient the top view and then select the top face of the model and draw a sketch. So we're going to do a top view, which is right here, and then we're going to select the face right here, and we're going to go under sketch tool, and we're going to hit sketch, and we're going to pick a circle, and we're going to have it centered, so another concentric circle, and we're going to bring this out. It says about 30 millimeters, which is about there. Just we're just going to do, because we're going to smart dimension it. So now we're going to smart dimension it, and we're going to smart dimension it to be 63 millimeters. So 63 millimeters. Hit check. And we're going to do an isometric view now. So here's isometric view. And we're going to go on to our features and extrude cut. And what we're going to do is we're going to want to cut from the surface plane. So this surface face right here. So I picked surface face plane, and then I came over and I clicked on the surface, and you see it turns green here. And this is kind of set by default, but it's going to be 3 millimeters. And then I hit this, and we have a nice cut right there. Okay, you see that we had this extrude cut in here. Alright, so that is all to our satisfactory dimensions. So we have this part. Alright, the next section talks about calculating the weight of the part. Alright, we calculate the volume, the total volume with all our measurements. It gives us the answer. It shows all the measurements that we use in here, all around it, and it gives us total volume of 22,385.42 cubic millimeters. And from using this volume, we can determine the density by knowing what the density of this aluminum is given to us as 0.0028 grams per cubic millimeter, and that's the type of aluminum that they're using. So we can calculate the weight by using the volume times the density, and the weight is 62.68 grams. So this is just something they're showing us how to do this. So it's all the answers are there, how they derive this using the measurements. And then what you could do is you could take this and possibly have quiz questions, or you see how you could do this if you wanted to calculate the weight, the theoretical weight on other parts. So we're going to create these screw slots next. And the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to, well, first we need to kind of have a good rough idea what the dimensions are. So we'll see that here's these screw slots, and they don't give us the dimensions until page 60, and they tell us that this is 16, a length of 16, a radius of 4, and a distance of 6 millimeters from this center line that's horizontal, and 12 millimeters from the vertical center line. So we have all those dimensions, and it's just nice to know, so when we create these screw slots, we'll be able to think about ahead of time what we should have as we create them. One of the difficulties with what's in this is it's asking us to use the dynamic mirrors entity, and we don't have the dynamic mirror entities. We just have mirror entities on our SolidWorks. So I'm going to show you something a little bit different, but very similar to what they're saying here. So you might not be able to follow exactly what's in the packet, since you'll see we have under sketch, we have mirror entities, but we don't have dynamic mirror entities on this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to select the face. All right, go back up here. Ooh, there it is. We need to select the face and then do the top view orientation. Top view. And we need to create a center line from our middle part upwards, and the length isn't important. Okay, so we created that center line, and I got that. Here's a line. If I click on that little arrow, I can get center line. Now I'm going to create one of these screw slots, and we'll be able to duplicate it. So I have the line tool, and I draw a line of a random length, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the tangent arc. All right, it might be center point arc, 3-point. Tangent arc is the one we want, and I want it to be, this is 90, angle of 90 degrees. I want an angle of 180 degrees right here, and I could smart dimension that right now. There we go. So I clicked on the line, and I want a radius of 4 millimeters. Oh. I could have done that later too, but I can do it right now. And then I'm going to create the line tool, and I'm going to pull this down until I get that. See this across line here? I want to make sure that I have my vertical line. This yellow thing tells me it's vertical, straight vertical, and I want to come down here. So now these are right next to each other, and I'm going to create another tangent arc from here, and this one will be identical to the one that's above it. I'll do the smart dimension tool on this guy, and you're going to notice something. When I do this, this is supposed to be 16. Let's look real quick. Down to page 60. All right, so that's 16. So it's 16 millimeters, and now I have this created. This side was changed to that side, so these both sides are 16 millimeters. Both of these have a radius of 0.4. So what I'm going to do now is I got my smart dimension, and I want to click on both of those. So I clicked on the center point of my arc, and I clicked on my center line, and then I came out somewhere where I can modify that to 12 millimeters, and I'm going to add another center line across here. So that looks good. Start there and go across this way, and hit OK, hit OK. I'm going to smart dimension this here, there. That doesn't seem right. And that's 6, right? Right, so that's not, I don't want 6 right there. So I'm going to edit, undo. Edit, undo. I'm going to pick the smart dimension here. There. That's too far. Oh no, that's good. Perfect. Alright, so, and that's going to be 6 millimeters. And I'll just check this real quick once again. Alright, distance from there is 6 millimeters. And I hit OK. Alright, so now we got this 12 millimeters across from the center line. It's 6 millimeters up from the horizontal center line. It's 16 millimeters in length, and it has a radius of 4. Alright, so that's all dimensioned off. That's good. So now I can pick my mirror entities, and I'll pick this. And the first thing is, what do I want? What entities do I want to mirror? So I'll click here, and you'll see that says line 2. I'll click there. That says arc 1. I'll click there. It says line 3. And I'll click there, and that says arc 2. Now where do I want it? I will click on the mirror about, and I want it to go around this center line. And you'll see it just appeared right here. So this is a symmetrical mirror image. And I hit OK, and boom. Now I got these 2 slots here. All right, so now I'm going to do it again. Mirror entities. I'm going to click this, and 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 this. And all these are my entities to mirror. And then I'm going to click here, and I hit mirror about this line. Boom. And now you can see it duplicated there. I go, okay, boom. So now I have the 4 screw slots, and they're identical, and they're symmetrical. So where are we here? We're going to go through here. So I did all of this. All of this has been completed. From page 44 all the way down. There we go. Go up again. All the way down to page 60. So now we have our create the cuts. It says click insert cut extrude from the menu, and then go to isometric view. So we go up here to view, or insert, sorry, insert, cut, extrude, and then we go to our isometric, like that. That looks good. You can see it's showing us a preview that it's cutting through there. We click this to through all. So sketch plane should be there, through all should be there, and then all we have to do is click the check mark, and there, it's all cut out. Now the next task they're asking us to do, so we created these cuts, we got these done, we clicked OK. Now it says renaming the features. So it tells you that you can rename features, and then it asks you, let me look at the SolidWorks. So mine, it says the rename cut extrudes 2, but on mine, yours may be cut extrudes 2. It could be any number depending on how many you did. Mine's cut extrude 8. So we come up here to the edit, or we double click here. Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. You click on it once, and then you could put in rounded slots right here. And that's all it's asking you to do is to make a name for when you do something, a name that's more sensical. So then I click anywhere over here so that this looks right. So this is highlighted. I click here, and it becomes regular again. So our next task is filleting. All right, so we got that done, and it gives an example of what filleting is when you round off either the outer edges or the inner side edges, so they're not 90-degree corners or sharp corners. And it tells us how to do that. So we're going to click on fillet, and then we're going to select the outside ring, and then it gives us the measurements and to make sure that we have everything set properly. So under features, right here is fillet. We click on that. We select what we want to fillet, which is right here. And we have 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter is way too much. I have, you could have no preview, or you could have full preview to kind of give you an example of what it would look like once that takes place. So it tells us to check this stuff. Constant radius, all right? So we want a constant radius. Make sure that is checked, constant radius. And we want it to be 1.5 millimeters. So we go 1.5 millimeters. And we want, this is no preview, we want full preview. And that'll show us what it is. And then we hit the check mark, and there it is. So that outer edge is completed. Now we're going to go to the fillet again, and we're going to, this time we're going to do the inside. And now this has already been selected at 1.5, but we want this to be just 1 millimeter. Oops. Mm. And all of this constant radius, all this is checked, this is checked, this is checked. So that's done. Now it tells us that we go back and we can edit this feature. So we can do that by right-clicking, and then it says edit feature here. And we could have done this by checking 2 things before we hit it. But if we check this inside corner, then we have edge 1 and edge 2. I could have done that already since I already knew that, but it's showing you how you can go back and decide you're going to edit things later. So then you hit OK, and at this point you'll see that we have created our binding. So you can go ahead and file save it, and then, all right, we've done all this. All right, we click, we save the part, and then we can you read through this. It tells you how much does it weigh now, and task 17, it'll show us how to get the weights, and then how to add materials or turn this into a specific material like aluminum. So you have used SolidWorks now to create your binding anchor. Now what we'll do is we'll run simulations and make it look better.